So this crazy white woman walks into Darth Vader's room and he kills her. The end. That's how a normal person would react to the recent Darth Vader Dark Visions issue. In the comic, an unnamed Vader-obsessed nurse decides to profess her psycho love to Vader, to which he gives her the saber. Just not the one she wanted. I mean, he's Darth Vader. He's killed people for less. This crazy white woman wanders into his room and starts talking about how they'd be awesome together and how he's just perfect the way he is and how she'll love him forever. Yep, kill her ass. Kill her dead. She don't even deserve a force choke. Shank her ass. Look at his face. He's like, does Darth Vader have to choke a bitch? I mean, I try to be nice. I'm actually gonna have to choke this bitch. Nah, you know what? Fuck it. As you would expect if you were a normal person. If you were a crazy white bitch, I mean feminist, you take the twatter to queef about how misogynistic it is for Vader to kill this wannabe groupie. Look at this shit. Just look at it. God, I feel like I'm Jermaine Dupri. Just bitches. Just so many whining bitches everywhere. Here's some of my favorites. I guess it would be funny if you enjoy 1. Derisive insulting depictions of fangirls thirsting after villains, or 2. Generally laughing at the downtrodden who dare to fantasize about some kind of protector and indulge in obsessive hobbies to make it through abusive work environments. Right, so there are no crazy fangirls out there. No women who ever take their feelings for an unattainable man too far. Nope, never happens. And 2, this crazy nurse's obsessive hobby is collecting Darth Vader's skin flakes and bloody cybernetic parts. I'm not making that up. Look at the screen. This bitch has a box of Vader's scabs and shit. Look at her face when she finds a piece. She's over there like, I'm gonna lick it. There's no amount of anyone picking on you that makes this okay. Then we've got this gem. If the desire of Star Wars is to kill romantic women, we will spend all our money in somewhere else fandom. No one forces us to read or look at stupid things. First of all, the nurse ain't a romantic woman. She's a crazy stalker, so deranged and obsessed that she feels entitled to steal Vader's body parts, his cape, and obsess over him to the point that she thinks he has to love her back. His desire never factors into her fantasy. She just assumes that he's gonna love her. That's not how the real world works, but as we can see, it's perfectly fine from the feminist perspective for women to feel entitled to men's feelings and bodies. Consent is a one-way street. Men need to ask women for consent, but women don't need to ask men at all. Male consent is a given. It's automatic. No man would turn down a woman, and if he does, he's a bad man. You know, like a Sith Lord who murders everyone who pisses him off. And then there's this one. Love how Star Wars literally emphasizes over and over how sad and tragic Vader is, and when a woman naturally feels bad for him, she gets brutally murdered, and the last panel is her dead body, and is referred to as trash. Nice to know how sexist this writer is. She doesn't naturally feel sorry for him. She's obsessed with him. Specifically the idea that he's in love with her and will protect her, and then they will rule the galaxy together after killing her boss. She's not the slightest bit concerned about Vader. All she cares about is her own fantasy. And this idea that it's wrong to kill her makes no sense. The first time we see Vader in Star Wars, he kills a guy he's asking questions to as the guy is answering him. That's the first time we see Vader. Vader cuts off his own son's hand just to do it. He could have beaten Luke any number of ways, but nope, just took the hand. Vader kills his own officers, people he needs to perform very important military functions, and he just murders them. And lest we forget, 5 seconds after turning to the dark side, Vader kills children, younglings. Not a peep out of you. Not a single complaint. But he kills this crazy white bitch, and you all lose your minds. But my favorite, my absolute favorite, is this woman who wrote this long-winded twatter rant about the comic. I could do a whole video about her tweets alone because they're just magnificently retarded. But this was my favorite. Suddenly, her fantasy shifts. She's no longer Vader's consort, but a Sith Lord in her own right. This is what male Star Wars fans do every day without scorn. This should be empowering. Male fans don't fantasize about being Vader's bottom bitch. They probably don't fantasize about being his apprentice either because they know he killed them. Their power fantasies are just them being Sith Lords. That's the difference. The context of this nurse's fantasy is that she's obsessed with Vader to the point she keeps his scabs. There's nothing empowering about being this fixated on a person you can't be with. That's disturbing. But that's the angle all these feminists and SJWs went with. On the Mary Sue, the place that makes child-abusing pedophiles look like decent people, some twat wrote this, and I want you to pay attention to how fast she contradicts herself. Just watch. This is not to say that Vader should have accepted her love and her problematic behavior, or that he shouldn't have reacted the way he did. He is the villain after all. But I guarantee, a male character who idolized Vader and who wanted to be like him would not have been treated like some sort of pseudo-Harley Quinn, but rather as a realized character who idolized the villain and who would have been a hero of the piece rather than a joke of a character. It's worth noting that Chuck Wendig, who was originally slated to write this Vader series prior to being fired by Marvel, tweeted that his original story was about a male morgue attendant who became obsessed with Vader, and yet it was changed to a woman. Literally one sentence. One long, run-on sentence later, and you contradict yourself. They would never do that to a man. Oh yeah, the original character was male. And by the way, the story played out the same way. Chuck Wendig posted this about the story. Apropos of absolutely nothing, my issue 3 of Shadow of Vader was about a toxic fanboy, a morgue attendant on the Death Star, who became obsessed with Vader, and it didn't end well for him. Obviously. I thought it was good, and I'm sorry you won't see it. Onward we go. So it's the same fucking story, but just a female nurse instead of a morgue attendant. And that would have been fine according to Wendig and all these future bad touch aunties crying about this crazy white bitch. I mean, how often are fanboys the butt of jokes? It happens all the time. Fanboys have been on the receiving end of SJW hate for the last 5 years. Every time you turn around, anytime a male fan doesn't like something, he's called a bigot. And we hear all about toxic masculinity and toxic fandom. This stuff is never coming from actual fans, anyone who genuinely likes these series or comics. It's always these busybody far-left jackasses bitching and moaning because they've got nothing else better to do. It's fine to trash male fans, not just poke fun at them, but attack them to the point that they no longer want anything to do with the thing they used to love because it's been made so toxic by feminists and progressives. But the moment someone makes a joke at a woman's expense, it's the worst thing ever. Y'all are the reason why people are tired of Star Wars. You did the impossible. Even George Lucas at his worst didn't make people hate Star Wars, but in less than 4 years, y'all have ruined it, probably beyond repair. You invade every single fan space and turn it from a fun community of like-minded people who don't take anything too seriously into the inner and outer party from 1984. And to show how deranged this is, Dickless Hopeless, the misogynist asshat who wrote the story, took to Twitter to apologize and claim that the story wasn't exactly what it was about. That really wasn't my intention. I'm not here to police your read, but to me, it's about a person so beaten down and caged by her fascist existence that she fantasizes about the only person in her world powerful enough to free her. No, that's not the story at all. At all. I read it. I went and bought this book solely because of this controversy. That's not what happens in the story at all. Crazy white bitch starts a story by ditching her job to catch a glimpse of Vader. Her boss comes and gets her and makes her do these simple tasks a droid could do, but she's so in her own head she fucks that up and almost bumps into Vader. Later, she almost gets the doctor killed because of her fuck-ups. Her fantasies aren't about her looking for a powerful man to free her from servitude. She just wants to set Lord D. That's it. That's the story you wrote, so stop lying. Then he responds to that last twatter nut job that I quoted, and he says, I read it as you were writing it. Your perspective is extremely informative. Thank you for taking the time. I will say I don't think our medic is silly or crazy at all. In my mind, she is the heroine of the story. It was not at all our intention to mock her or anyone else. Bullshit. You were clearly showing what would happen if some psycho wannabe groupie tried to cuddle up to Vader. That's the story. Vader wants nobody. Vader loves nobody. He will kill anyone who tries to get close to him without a second thought and then go about his day. The end. That was the story. Question. I'm sure you weren't required to use anything that Wendig left behind when he got fired by Marvel. Obviously you're not going to use this story because then they'd have to pay him for it. So why tell this story at all? I mean, if you're really claiming that your punk ass didn't mean to write a story where this crazy white bitch gets killed, then why'd you write it? I get why you wouldn't make the character male. If he came across as the slightest bit gay, you'd be in a whole different world of trouble. But why didn't you just change the story? Why use the obsessed angle? Why not use something different? I propose you wrote it because you thought it'd be funny. I used to listen to Crankcast with Crank and Mike Norton. You used to go on the show. I kinda know your personality, dude. You thought it was funny, 'cause it is, and nobody at Marvel or Disney had a problem with a villain killing someone, so you went with it. Don't back down from your work, dude. These people don't care. If you'd written a story where Vader killed a man, they wouldn't bat an eye. They wouldn't even care if Vader murdered children, as long as they were all boys. Hell, they wouldn't even care if you had Vader rape the boys before he killed them. These people, in real life, don't think any of those things are wrong. That's how unhinged they are. You could flip the script and have the nurse force herself onto Vader, even rape him, and they would still accuse you of misogyny for A, showing a woman in a negative light, B, making her irredeemable, and C, for even suggesting that a woman could rape a man. None of them would take issue with your depiction of Vader. That's how unhinged they are. These are the same people who love to mock every single thing male fans like, no matter how trivial it is. But then they get pissy when someone does it to them. You don't apologize to these people. Doing that just enables them. You need to shut this shit down. You don't like that Vader kills women? Tough titty. He kills everybody. You don't like that I wrote a story about an obsessed woman? Too bad. Or maybe the story is hidden a little too close to home. That's how you deal with these people. You shut that shit down because they will never stop if you don't. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.